My ex-girlfriend invited me to her wedding, intending to make me feel small by flaunting her wealthy husband, so I brought a special someone as my date, and by the end of the night, she was in tears because her marriage was over. Despite her outbursts, I remained composed and reminded her that everyone has different priorities. Ben clearly came from a well-to-do family, so he might not value his career as much as I do, but I enjoy my work. I also told her that if she wanted a guy like Ben, she should be with him. I suggested we shouldn't argue about it and that she could move out whenever she was ready. Her eyes widened, and she asked how I could afford the rent. I explained that I had gotten a raise and could now cover the entire rent myself. Hearing this, she started yelling, accusing me of trying to show off. She bragged about how Ben was richer than me and even owned a house that his father had bought for him. She kept insisting that I needed to change and become more accommodating. At this point, I asked her to be quiet since I was tired of arguing in the middle of the night. I told her she had until the end of the month to move out, and until then, she could sleep on the couch. I could hear her grumbling, but I ignored her and went back to sleep. Fortunately, over the week, Lily began packing and slowly moving her things. I was getting excited about finally having the place to myself. On her last night, I came home to find Lily and Ben on our couch. I looked at her, surprised, and she told me that since it was her last night there, she wanted to show Ben where she lived. I couldn't believe her nerve, bringing another man into our place without asking me, knowing I'd be back. I didn't want to be rude to Ben since I thought it wasn't his fault, so I politely greeted him. But to my surprise, he looked at me with disdain and didn't even acknowledge me. I decided not to take it personally and went to freshen up. Later, while I was making pasta, Ben came into the kitchen for water. He stood there watching me, which made me uncomfortable. I asked if he needed anything, but he gave me the same scornful look. I decided to ignore him and continue cooking so I could eat in peace in my room. After I finished eating, as I was about to go downstairs, I overheard Lily and Ben talking. Ben was telling Lily how lucky she was to have upgraded after dating someone like me. I froze shocked as I heard Lily laugh and agree with him. Then he asked her why she ever fell in love with me. That's when Lily said something that completely devastated me. She confessed that she had used me because I was gullible enough to pay for their dates and lend her money in college. She even revealed that I had paid more than half the rent for the last couple of years, which allowed her to save a lot of money. I couldn't believe what I had heard. I had always suspected she might have used my generosity to pay more than her share of the rent, but I had no idea she had been using me from the very beginning. Then she continued to talk about our relationship and basically made fun of me in every way. I was about to burst into tears because of how humiliated I felt, but I didn't want to let them see me like that. So I quietly went back upstairs and spent the rest of the night crying into my pillow. The next morning, when I woke up, Lily and Ben were gone. She had taken the last of her things and had officially moved out. I walked around the house in a daze, knowing I was finally free. I cannot begin to describe how relieved I felt, knowing she was finally out of my life and out of my house. I cried tears of joy and danced around the house. Then I set about cleaning the entire place so there would be no trace of her anywhere. Over the next few weeks, I thoroughly enjoyed living alone. I had stopped caring about what Lily and Ben had said about me. All was going well until 2 months later when our mutual friend informed me at work that Lily was getting married to Ben. I was taken aback because it all seemed so sudden. Our friends showed me their engagement photos, and they appeared to be very happy. While I felt a slight pang of sadness for how Lily had used me all those years, I also realized I would have never been satisfied with her anyway. Therefore, I was glad she had found someone who could make her happy. That same night, when I got home and checked my mailbox, I found an unexpected wedding invitation. My eyes widened in shock as I realized it was from Lily and Ben. I initially thought it was maybe a mistake, where she had invited me just as a courtesy, until I opened the invitation and saw that she had written something in the corner. Inside the card was, "I want you to attend my wedding so you can see the grand life I'm going to have with Ben." It slowly dawned on me that she had invited me only to show off her marriage, her rich partner, and her newfound wealth. I took a deep breath, trying to understand why she would even send an invitation like this to me when all I had done was care for her over the years. All the years of anger and frustration I had bottled up inside came pouring out, and I knew I had to get even with her. I RSVP'd with a +1. I had a plan forming in my head and was determined to make Lily regret ever inviting me. I opened my laptop and began scrolling through Ben's social media profiles. I scanned each and every picture he had ever posted. As luck would have it, I finally found what I was looking for. Just 6 months ago, Ben had broken up with his ex-girlfriend, Jessica. He had several posts with her, and their pictures dated back to high school, which meant they had clearly been together for a very long time. I sent a friend request to Jessica from my profile, and when she accepted, I sent her a message. To my surprise, she responded and we started talking. I was upfront with her about my identity as Lily's ex and told her about my plan to invite her as my date to their wedding. She was curious and wanted to know why I was talking to her, so I told her everything over a few weeks. Jessica shared that Ben had been unfaithful to her a bunch of times, and Lily was the latest person he cheated with. This was news to me since I had no clue. She went on to explain that Ben was always into younger girls, so she wasn't shocked when he said he was in love with Lily while they were still together. They had a pretty rough breakup, and she had blocked him on everything, even though he wanted to stay friends. From how she talked about Ben, it seemed like she still had feelings for him. I also confided in Jessica about my own bad experience with Lily and how she had taken advantage of me for years. I opened up to her, describing all the things Lily had put me through and how Ben and Lily had made fun of me. Jessica was stunned to hear about the way Lily had treated and spoken about me. After listening to everything, Jessica finally agreed to go with me. I was excited, imagining the look on my ex and Ben's faces when they saw me show up at their wedding with Jessica. On the day of the wedding, just like I expected, Lily's eyes got wide when she saw me walking in with my special guest. She must have instantly recognized Jessica as Ben's ex. We didn't pay attention to her expressions and pretended to look for our assigned seats. Lily came up to me and angrily whispered, asking why I was here with Ben's ex, but I just smiled. She couldn't cause a scene in front of everyone and had to reluctantly go back to the aisle, shooting me a dirty look. When it was time for the groom to make his entrance, everyone stood up from their seats. Ben looked sharp in his black tuxedo as he walked down the aisle with his father by his side. The ceremony went off without a hitch, and the celebrations moved to the reception area. Ben must have gone to change because he was wearing a different suit when he came into the area after watching the wedding ceremony. Jessica and I kept a low profile throughout the reception. We made sure to ignore Lily's angry stares and Ben's obvious annoyance. I knew she really wanted to confront us, but she couldn't risk making a scene at her own wedding. Meanwhile, I just watched everything happen with a sense of inner satisfaction, knowing the impact of my presence was just beginning. When it was time for the toast, Lily finally couldn't hold back anymore. She came up to us while everyone was busy, and with a fake smile hissed through gritted teeth, "What are you two doing here? Do you really think you can ruin my special day?" Jessica, with an equally sarcastic smile, replied before I could, "Oh, Lily, honey, we're not here to ruin anything. We're here to celebrate. After all, it's such a big day, isn't it?" Lily was about to lose it, but I cut her off before she could say something that might attract attention from the guests. "Let's keep up appearances, Lily. You wouldn't want your husband to know that you're still so hung up on me, right?" Her eyes flashed with anger, but she turned around and walked back to Ben, who had no idea what was going on. Throughout the rest of the party, Jessica and I made sure to look like we were having a great time, laughing together and exchanging knowing glances. It wasn't entirely an act. The truth is, while this started as a plan for revenge, I was genuinely starting to enjoy Jessica's company. She was sharp, witty, and most importantly, she understood what I had gone through. Then, something unexpected happened. As we danced, I noticed Ben coming towards Jessica. He seemed agitated, and soon I realized they were having a hushed argument. I moved closer discreetly and overheard Ben saying something like, "Why are you here with him? This has nothing to do with you. We're over. Remember?" Jessica laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. "We're over because you cheated on me, Ben. Remember? And now you expect me to care about who I hang out with." I just watched from a distance while Ben struggled to keep his cool. Jessica wasn't making it easy for him, and I knew that all of this was getting to him. That's when I decided to kick things up a notch. I grabbed a glass of champagne and walked up to the microphone that had been used for the toasts. "Sorry to interrupt everyone," I began with a smile on my face. All eyes turned to me, including those of Lily and Ben, who looked shocked. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the bride, Lily, for inviting me to this very special event. I paused, enjoying the tension in the air. For those who don't know me, I'm her ex, and I'm really happy to see that she's found a man who can give her the life she's always dreamed of. By the way, Ben, congratulations on your acquisition. I mean, your marriage. The room fell into an awkward silence, with guests exchanging uncertain glances. Lily looked like she was about to burst into tears, while Ben clenched his fist, barely containing his anger. But I wasn't done yet. I'd also like to raise a glass to honesty and transparency in a relationship. I lifted my glass, staring directly at Ben and Lily. "May you never lack them like I did." Then I took a slow sip, smiling mockingly. At this point, Ben was furious. He slammed down his glass and started storming towards me, but a few mutual friends stepped in to hold him back before he could reach me. "You've crossed the line," he shouted, while I just kept smiling. "You think this is funny? You think you can just come here and ruin our day?" I looked him in the eye, still calm, and said, "I didn't ruin anything. Ben, I'm just here to see how things go when you can't buy someone's respect or love." As he struggled against those restraining him, Lily began to sob, tears streaming down her face as she shouted at Ben, "Why are you paying attention to him? This is our day, Ben, not his." But what happened next was even more unexpected. Jessica, who had stayed by my side in silence until now, stepped forward and in front of everyone, said loudly, "You know, Ben, you deserve this because I remember very well how you toyed with my feelings while you were already eyeing Lily." Her words echoed through the room, and now all the guests were witnessing a spectacle they never saw coming. Ben, speechless, looked at Jessica with a mix of anger and surprise. At that moment, Lily, consumed by desperation, started yelling, "I should never have invited you, you ungrateful jerk. I just wanted to show you that I'm better off without you." I simply shrugged and replied, "And I wanted to see if you really were. Apparently, you still have something to prove to me." By now, the venue security was approaching, but Jessica and I were already ready to leave. As we walked toward the exit, I could hear Lily and Ben shouting echoing through the hall. The fairy tale wedding she had planned had turned into a disaster, and in a way, I felt satisfied to have given her a taste of what she had tried to do to me. As we left, Jessica asked, "Do you think we went too far?" I chuckled and said, "I think we went exactly where we needed to go." After that, I heard rumors Ben and Lily had a big fight, and their marriage was already in trouble. She tried hard to look happy, but everyone knew their wedding was a mess. It felt a little mean, but I also felt like I finally got some justice. Jessica and I left the wedding feeling good about what we did. We went back to our own lives, but I was curious about what would happen with Lily and Ben. And, of course, I heard things through friends. Right after the wedding, things looked peaceful, but I knew it was just for show. Ben and Lily tried to look like a happy couple online, posting smiling pictures and going to parties. But I knew Lily well, and I could tell she was hiding a lot of anger. And I was right. Soon after, I found out their honeymoon was a disaster. Ben, who was quiet at the wedding, got really mad as soon as they landed at their fancy vacation spot. He was still embarrassed about Jessica and me, the people he and Lily thought were beneath them. They argued almost the whole trip, at every meal, every place they visited. It was obvious they were not getting along. Ben said Lily invited Jessica and me on purpose, and Lily cried, saying she just wanted to show she was over me. He called her selfish and said she only thought about herself and didn't understand how she could be so careless and almost ruin her reputation at her own wedding. When they got back, things got even worse. Ben, who didn't seem to worry about money before, started asking Lily to pay more for things because he was now dealing with the cost of the big wedding and honeymoon. The love disappeared quickly, and every day was a new fight about money, about who was paying more and about their future. Then, one day, a friend called me, excited to tell me the latest news. Lily had moved back in with her parents after a huge fight that was so loud, the neighbors almost called the police. "You won't believe this," he said, trying not to laugh. "They're basically broken up, and he's the one who told her to leave." I tried not to act too interested, but I couldn't help but smile. Ben, the rich guy, was now alone in the house his dad bought for him, while Lily had to go back to the place she wanted to escape her parents' house, without the money she had saved while I paid most of her rent. A few weeks later, I learned that Ben had found old messages from Lily, where she talked about how she used my kindness to save money while they were together. That was the last straw for him. She used me just like she used him, he supposedly told one of their friends. He was embarrassed about the wedding, and now realized that maybe he wasn't so different from me in her eyes. Ben felt betrayed, and Lily, knowing she couldn't save her marriage, was really upset. Around that time, Lily started trying to contact me again. At first, she sent simple messages, like she wanted to explain what happened at the wedding. Then came the phone calls, one after another, where she cried, saying she didn't know what to do, that Ben had left her with nothing. I ignored every call, blocking each new number she used to try and reach me. I'd already done my part. She used me, embarrassed me, and tried to put me down, but now she was dealing with the consequences on her own. One day, when I was leaving work, I ran into Jessica, and we got coffee. She always knew what was happening before I did. "Did you hear that Ben's selling the house?" she asked with a grin. "Looks like things didn't go as planned, and his parents aren't happy with him either. I think they've stopped giving him money." I couldn't help but laugh. Ben, who once seemed untouchable, was now trying to sell the house he used to impress Lily. I knew that his problems weren't all because of me, but I felt like my being at the wedding had started everything that came after. Months passed, and Lily stopped trying to contact me. She seemed to have finally realized that there was nothing more she could get from me, and I was enjoying my new life. My career was going well, and living alone was perfect for me to start over. One night, while I was watching a movie, I got a message from Jessica. She had found a long post from Lily on social media, talking about learning from mistakes and how important it is to appreciate the people in your life. It was clearly a sad message about what she had lost, an attempt to make herself look like the victim. I just laughed and replied to Jessica, "Some people never change." And deep down, I knew that even if Lily tried to change the story, I had won. She had tried to embarrass me, but she ended up being embarrassed herself. Ben, who she thought was a great catch, had become a reminder that things aren't always what they seem. And I moved on, free from both of them, happy to know that the best revenge was watching their relationship fall apart without me doing anything beyond accepting that invitation.